Welcome to Story Planet, where every story is a journey of wonder. Letters carried by the sea, ink was the only way home, a gentle tale of distance and devotion, where love travels through ink and longing moves with the tide. A husband missing the warmth of her touch, a father aching for the sound of little feet and laughter. Each letter a quiet ache, each word a step closer to home, because when the heart can't be there, the words carry it. Get cozy, relax, and let the story gently unfold. Whenever you need a moment of calm or perfect for unwinding before the night, shall we begin? Aboard the trade ship Windmarrow, 16th day of June, in the year of our Lord 1847. My dearest Marigold, it's quiet tonight, the kind of quiet that drapes itself over the deck like a worn blanket, heavy with the scent of salt and old wood. The sails above me creak softly in the breeze, and the water laps gently against the hull, a lullaby composed by the sea itself. I write to you from my small quarters aboard Windmarrow, the same ship that has carried me across 3 continents, yet somehow never carried me closer to what I truly long for. You and our children, Elsie and Bram. Their names alone are enough to warm the chill that travels up my spine each time the wind shifts. Especially on nights like this, when the moon sits high and the stars scatter like your freckles across the sky. You remember the last morning, don't you? The way our fingers lingered a little too long, the way you adjusted my collar with those small, sacred touches. The children still half asleep in the doorway, pretending not to watch us. I've replayed it 1,000 times, Marigold. Not because I needed reminding, but because those little moments hold the kind of weight no ledger ever could. The crew keeps busy below, sorting grains and spices, checking crates, making notes of where we are headed next. There is laughter now and then, echoing up the stairwell like ghosts of merrier times. I sit apart from it all, not out of sadness, but in reverence. Reverence for the life I've built with you, and the quiet ache I carry when I am not in it. It was easier when I was younger. I used to count the coin first, weigh the profit, measure a good day by the shine of silver in my hand. But these days, I find myself measuring differently. In missed bedtime stories, in kisses not given, in the drawings Bram tapes to the pantry door, the ones I can only imagine. I can see them in my mind. Lopsided horses, stick figures with wide smiles, suns that take up half the page. They make the walls of our home brighter than gold ever could. How many more birthdays will I miss, my love? How many firsts will pass while I chase wealth across the oceans? I promised you this voyage would be my last, and I mean to keep it. Not because trade has grown bitter, but because my longing to return home has sweetened beyond what I can bear. Do you remember that spring when Elsie was born? You said something then, something I've carried with me ever since. You said, what we grow in silence blooms the loudest. I did not understand it then, but now watching the sea roll beneath me in endless hush, I think I do. It's in the quiet spaces between waves that I hear you best. In the hush after the gulls stop crying, in the pause before the next call of the wind, that's when I feel your hand in mine. That's when I hear Elsie's giggle and Bram's questions about everything under the sun. In the silence, you live most clearly. I have done well on this journey so far. The bales of cinnamon from Ceylon, the indigo cloth from Calicut, all secure and ready for exchange. The ledger will be full in our pantry too, but none of it will mean anything if it costs me more time away. The faces of the merchants blur together. The coins all sound the same, but the thought of your voice, your soft hum in the kitchen, the children's laughter trailing down the hallway, that is music. I have arranged to take faster ports, I've traded goods for passage where I once might have sought gold. Let the others stay. Let them chart their fortunes with long sails and distant shores. My compass points only home. This ship creaks like a tired man, but she still carries me forward. I run my hand along her wooden rail and think of your spine. How I used to draw circles between your shoulder blades as we drifted to sleep. How your breath would slow in time with mine. I wonder if you still sleep facing the window, or if the children have taken my place in bed. I do not begrudge them. Only wish I could be there, tangled among you like roots at the base of our family tree. I wonder too, do you still rise before dawn and open the kitchen shutters before the birds stir? Does the cat still curl up in the crook of your armchair? I imagine you standing by the window with your tea, hair tucked behind your ear, eyes watching for a ship on the horizon. There are days when I close my eyes and swear I can smell your lavender soap, feel the scratch of your apron against my chest, hear the soft clink of the spoon against your teacup. Tell Bram that the stars are just sailors who lost their way home, but kept shining so others could find theirs. Tell Elsie that the ocean is blue because it misses the sky too often, and weeps in secret when no one's watching. Tell them their father loves them with every grain of sand from here to Harwich, and then more. As for you, Marigold, I carry you like breath, like warmth, like prayer. You are the heartbeat behind every decision I make. Even here, far from land, I live in the house of your love, and it keeps me steady when the waves rise. I'll write again from the next port, but until then, know this, I trade, not for gold, but for return. I sail, not for adventure, but for home. This voyage is the last trail I will wander without you at my side. I have wandered enough. Yours, always, even in the stillness between heartbeats, Alban. P.S. I've enclosed a pressed violet I picked from a merchant's garden in Lisbon. It reminded me of you, soft in color, strong in stem, and able to survive even in salt wind. I remember how violets once grew near the bend in the road by the old well, where we used to sit in spring and listen to the bees hum. You once tucked one behind your ear and asked if it suited you, as though anything ever didn't. Keep this one tucked in your book of poems, the one I gave you the first year we wed. The green one with the frayed edges you always said reminded you of our early days. Perhaps on some quiet evening, when the children are tucked in and the house rests in candlelight, you'll open to that old page with the violet pressed against a poem, and think of me. I will be thinking of you at that same moment, wherever I am beneath the stars. Sleep well, my love. Dream of calm seas, and know that somewhere far from your touch, I close my eyes with only you in mind. From the port city of Almeria, 5th day of July, 1847. My beloved Marigold, I write to you tonight from the upper loft of a seaside inn, a stone's throw from the bustling port of Almeria. The window beside me is cracked open, letting in the breath of the ocean, and somewhere below a boy plays a sad tune on a flute. The melody drifts like a bird without a nest, and I find myself following it in thought, floating backward, until I see your face again. It is loud here, not like the wind-whispered hush aboard Windmarrow, but the sort of noise that fills the lungs of a city. Merchants shout across cobbled lanes, donkeys clop by with baskets overflowing with apricots and olives, and bells ring from the fishing docks every hour with uncanny precision. And yet, within all this life, I find myself wrapped in stillness. I spent the morning at the market, an endless sprawl of stalls and voices and colors. There were bolts of silk so fine they danced with the air, spices that made the very ground smell of warmth, baskets of figs and almonds still dusty from the grove. I bartered for saffron, traded indigo for citrus, and sold off 2 crates of cinnamon to a man with a crooked hat and the kindest eyes I've seen in weeks. The trade was good, fair, even bountiful. But with each exchange, my hand felt less sure. There's a hollowness to closing deals without your hand in mine, without your laughter to chase away the tension of negotiation. I miss your clever remarks about the way traders puff themselves up like roosters. I miss Bram tugging at my coat, asking if I brought him back a carved toy, and Elsie wrapping her arms around my waist before I even reached the door. Oh, Marigold, it is not the sea that wears on me, it is the absence. You see, there's a peculiar kind of loneliness that follows a man who has everything he needs, but nothing he truly wants. The coin feels cold in my palm, and the food tastes like duty, not delight. I sit among plates of lamb and honeyed almonds, yet I crave only the burnt edges of your bread. The kind you say isn't fit to serve, but always makes me smile. Last night, a local family invited me to share supper. Their children reminded me of ours, full of questions, wide-eyed and wide-hearted. The father had a fiddle, and he played a tune that made the youngest girl laugh until she hiccuped. I laughed too, and then quietly excused myself, for my heart was too full of you all, and the joy of strangers only made the ache sharper. It's strange, isn't it, that I've traveled thousands of miles, seen temples carved in hillsides and sunsets that bleed gold into the sea, and still, the thing I long to see most is our kitchen at twilight. You with flour on your cheek, Bram with jam on his chin, Elsie humming nonsense songs to the cat. These are the riches I dream of. These are the treasures I trade toward. I passed a bookshop earlier today, and in the window was a leather-bound edition of poetry by Whitworth, the same poet you once read to me under our sycamore tree, your voice lilting like wind in the grass. I bought it, of course. I've pressed a rose between the pages. Not fresh, but fragrant still. I'll give it to you the night I return, and you'll smile that quiet smile, the one that makes all the world go soft. Sometimes I fear that Bram's voice will have changed before I return, that Elsie will have grown tall and serious. I missed her first steps. I do not want to miss her first song. I dream often that I come home and they do not recognize me, that I've become a story in a journal and not a man with calloused hands and a crooked grin. But I promise you, Marigold, this is the last voyage. The earnings from this trip are already more than enough. I will not stretch it farther, not trade away another season. What we have is worth more than what the world can offer. I want to build the shed we spoke of, plant the herb garden with Elsie, mend the gate with Bram's help, even if it takes twice as long because he asks 100 questions. I want to wake beside you, not the creaking of rope and sea, but the rustle of quilts and the scent of you. Tomorrow I set sail again. The next port is quieter, a final transaction before we turn for home. I will write from there, perhaps with news of departure. The map I carry is wrinkled with travel, but I've charted a course now, not by stars, but by longing. Until then, my heart, kiss our children once for me, and once more for you. With all that I am, Alban. P.S. Tucked within the poetry book I bought you is a pressed rose petal, the shade of twilight like the sky when I think of you most. When you find it, breathe in and imagine me beside you, fingers laced through yours, listening to your voice reading aloud by candlelight. That moment will come, my love, and until then, this petal carries my longing, my love, and my promise to return. Sleep peacefully, Marigold, and know I close my eyes tonight with your name resting gently on my lips. Aboard the trade ship Windmarrow, 19th day of July 1847. My dearest Marigold, It is a night that wears its silence like silk, soft, endless, and stitched with stars. I write from the stern of Windmarrow, with the lantern swinging above me, casting gentle halos of gold across the wooden deck. The sea is calm tonight, like it too has decided to rest from its endless wanderings. There is no market here, no laughter, no haggling over saffron or citrus, just the rhythmic hush of water and the occasional groan of timber settling into sleep. And in this silence, my heart beats louder. We are homebound now, Marigold. The final trades were made in a sleepy coastal village I cannot even pronounce, where the wind carried the scent of lemons and lavender, and time seemed reluctant to move forward. I traded the last of our cloth for olive oil and herbs. But more than that, I traded away the last of my longing to remain in this life. The man who once found excitement in distance now counts every mile by how many remain until I am with you. Tonight, I climbed the mast just before dusk. Not far, only to the first spar, enough to feel the full breath of the ocean wind against my face. And when I looked out, I swear I could see the shape of home on the horizon. Not land exactly, but the memory of it, hovering just beyond what eyes can catch. I closed my eyes and saw you in the garden, snipping rosemary, Bram chasing Elsie with muddy hands, and the cat stretched out in a warm patch of light. The house looked smaller in my vision, but fuller, warmer, like a lantern lit from the inside. The crew speaks of home now more often. Even the gruffest among us, men who've gone years without tethering themselves to a soul, have softened. One carves a tiny ship from wood, says it's for a girl he met 4 winters ago. Another hums lullabies when he thinks no one hears. The sea has a way of peeling back the layers, doesn't it? Leaving us with just what matters, and nothing more. I've taken to reading each night. The poetry book I found in Almeria is well worn now. I read your favorite poem aloud, though the wind is my only audience. It calms me. Your words, your taste, your memory wrapped in ink. Sometimes I speak to you aloud, silly things really. What I ate, what cloud I think looked like a sheep, how I miss the way your nose crinkles when you laugh. I imagine your response, soft, amused, always wiser than I expect. Do you still wear your shawl in the mornings, even in July? The pale blue one with the frayed corner? I used to tease you for never replacing it, but I understand now. Some things carry more warmth for the heart than for the body. Just like your old tea mug, chipped but sacred, and my worn boots, which you insisted I throw away, yet somehow packed for me anyhow. I found them yesterday, tucked in with the herbs. I laughed aloud, a sound that startled a nearby gull. There's a boy aboard named Immel, no older than Bram, really. He scrubs decks and watches stars like they hold secrets just for him. Last night, he asked if I missed home. I told him, I miss my wife like I miss air when I dive. He looked puzzled, then nodded, as though something deep in him understood. He reminds me of Bram when he was younger, curious, always watching, always listening for what's not said. I think often of the morning light on our floorboards, of the way Elsie sings to herself when she thinks no one listens, of you, in that quiet hour just before dawn when your breath is slow and your face still softened by sleep. How many mornings have I missed? How many chances to wake with your hand resting over mine? More than I care to count, but not one more. Marigold, not after this. I've written to Bram and Elsie as well, separate letters tucked into my satchel. Nothing grand, just small thoughts. I told Bram that I saw dolphins leaping beside the ship, and they reminded me of him when he's overjoyed. I told Elsie that the clouds here bloom like wildflowers in the sky, and I imagined she'd try to name every shape. You must read them, those letters, with your voice, your warmth, so they feel I'm not so far. Do you ever worry, Marigold, that our life might have been smaller if I hadn't chased the sea. I sometimes do. But then I remember. It wasn't the travel that gave us richness. It was the returning. The anticipation. The knowing that there is someone waiting at the window, counting sunsets, stitching hope into every day. And you have made our home a place worth aching for. I've met kings with fewer treasures. There's a softness to the night now, as though the stars are leaning in to listen. I told Emile that stars are like letters, each one a message from someone long gone but not forgotten. And I wonder, if you look up tonight, will we see the same sky? Will you find Orion and think of me? I've made a habit of whispering your name to the wind before I sleep, in case it might find its way to you. The captain says we'll reach Harwich within a week. The men are preparing, tightening sails, oiling hinges, humming tunes from childhood. There's a hush between us now, a reverent kind of silence, as though we're approaching something sacred. And perhaps we are. Home is not just a place, it is a person, a scent, a rhythm of footsteps in the hall. It is you. When I step onto the dock, I do not want fanfare. I want only your arms around me, the children's laughter in the wind, and the old path that leads us home, stones worn smooth by all the years we've walked it together. We've been apart too long, my love, but soon we'll be together, and time will forget it ever separated us. Until then, know this, I love you beyond the reach of sea and sky. I carry your voice in every breath, and I will return not as a man who left, but as the man who found his way back. Ever yours, Alban. P.S. Tonight I pressed a scrap of parchment with a bit of charcoal and traced the moon's edge. It's imperfect, smudged, wind-blown, but it's the same moon that watches over you. Keep it near your bedside, and when you see it, remember that somewhere across the turning world, I am beneath that same light, dreaming of the moment our eyes meet again. Sleep well, Marigold, and let the stars keep you until I can. Home, Brambleport, Essex, 27th day of July, 1847. My Marigold. I'm writing this not from a port, not from a creaking ship or candlelit tavern, but from the chair by our fireplace. Your chair, really, the one with the faded cushion that smells faintly of lavender and thyme. My boots are beside the hearth, drying from the soft drizzle that greeted me this morning, and my satchel, worn and frayed from the journey, lies open, its burden finally lifted. I am home. Let me say it again, for I've whispered it to the walls and the rain and to the curl of your sleeping form just an hour ago. I am home. Last night, when I stepped off Windmarrow for the final time, the world seemed to pause. Not a grand moment, no flags or flares, just the hush of the dock, the distant hoot of an owl, and my own heartbeat, steady and sure. And then, there you were. Standing just beyond the lantern's reach, shawl drawn close around your shoulders, hair tucked behind your ears, your eyes wide with disbelief, or perhaps relief. You didn't say a word, nor did I. You didn't have to. We moved toward each other as if no time had passed, as though my leaving had been but a blink, and this, the warmth of your arms around me, was where I had always been meant to stay. There was a trembling in you. Not fear, not uncertainty, just the beautiful echo of longing being met with touch. Elsie and Bram, oh Marigold, they've grown. Elsie is taller, her laughter richer, and her eyes, they're still yours, wide and thoughtful, always studying, always dreaming. She ran to me first, her little boots kicking up puddles, her arms flung wide like wings. And Bram, he hesitated. Just a moment, studying me the way a boy studies a stranger he's been told to trust. But when I dropped to one knee and opened my arms, he came barreling into me, knocking the wind from my lungs and replacing it with something softer. We stayed on the stoop for a long while, the four of us tangled like ivy, like roots that had been searching blindly but finally found soil. You cried, just a little, your hand brushing through my hair like you couldn't believe I was real. I cried too, quietly, behind their shoulders. The kind of tears that come when the world has been too loud for too long and you finally find your way back to stillness. The house was just as I remembered, and yet not. Warmer, lived in, more beautiful. The scent of bread clung to the walls, and a fire crackled in the hearth as though it had been waiting for me all along. On the mantel sat the pressed violet I sent you, tucked into the corner of your book of poems. My heart swelled, not with pride, but with presence. I was no longer a letter. I was here. That first night, we stayed up far too late. You brewed that cinnamon tea I love, the one you only make on special days. We let the children chatter and climb over me like puppies. They had stories to tell, drawings to show, new words to share. You listened, half laughing, half weeping, brushing tears away with the back of your hand. And me? I sat in silence, just watching, memorizing, letting the sound of home replace the sea that had echoed in my ears for so long. At some point, Bram fell asleep with his head in my lap. Elsie curled beside you, thumb tucked beneath her chin. We didn't speak then either, just looked across at each other, our eyes saying everything our mouths couldn't hold. I reached for your hand. It was warm, and it fit against mine like it had never left. I kissed your knuckles, one by one, and you closed your eyes, and I knew we'd found our peace. Today was slow, wonderfully, gloriously slow. We rose late, the rain still tapping gently at the windows. You made porridge while I read to the children. Bram insisted I do the voices. You laughed at my attempt at a dragon's growl, and I swear I haven't heard anything more beautiful in all my travels. After breakfast, we sat in the garden. The rosemary is wild now, the lavender even more so. Elsie picked a bundle and said it smelled like my letters. We spoke of the future over supper. Simple things, mending the fence, building the shed, teaching Bram to fish, though I suspect he'll spend more time splashing in the shallows, planting mint and thyme, perhaps even keeping bees again. I told you I wouldn't leave anymore, and I meant it. The road behind me is long, the sea vast, but I have arrived. I've brought enough coin for comfort, for rest, for beginning anew. No more chasing, just choosing. Choosing us. Tonight, as the children sleep, their breath even and steady from their shared bed across the hall, I sit beside you. Your head rests on my shoulder, your hand over my heart. We don't need to speak. We've done enough of that in ink and silence. Now is the time for presents. I think of all those nights aboard Windmarrow, the ache, the longing, the whispered promises to the moon. And now here we are, in the hush of our own home, the very place those dreams were cast toward. Thank you, Marigold, for waiting, for believing, for holding space for me in the hearth of your heart. I will spend the rest of my days filling it with laughter, warmth, and the kind of love that doesn't require departure to be felt. Let us grow old here, among the herbs and the worn floorboards, the chipped mugs and the candlelit dinners. Let us drift into our own quiet adventure, one of slow mornings and soft beds, of whispered bedtime stories and fingers laced under quilts. I am home, my love, and in this stillness, in this joy, I rest. Forever yours, Alban. Thank you for listening to this tender voyage across ink and sea. If you felt the quiet ache, the warmth of love written between tides, if the longing of a husband and the heart of a father touched you gently, or if the quiet strength of a wife and the waiting heart of a mother echoed softly within you, consider giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with someone you hold dear. Perhaps they too have unsent letters in their heart. waiting to be felt. For more bedtime stories filled with calm and connection, subscribe if you haven't already. Good night and sweet dreams from Story Planet.